Hello everyone, Wise Gamer here, and today we're doing our first episode on Tactics 101 for Insurgency. Now this can be applied to many other games, any game whatsoever that has some sort of realism aspect with an ability to clear rooms and stuff like that. Mostly against AI. America's Army would be a good example. I can't remember if Arma has it or not, but this doesn't really work against players too often because players are really unpredictable, but with AI in a real world scenario, this is how you would want to do stuff. So whether you want to do something real world or you want to do something in the game, this is how you would do these different movements and tactics. So basically I found this developer world inside of Hammer Source for Insurgency. There's lots of cover everywhere. There's like a room over here that we can clear. This is really just to kind of demonstrate a co-op mode, and it's supposed to get assets from it and stuff to show you how you can do different things. But what I wanted to do was use it because it winds up working perfectly for teaching movements and tactics. So the first one I want to talk about, as you saw in the title of the video probably, is bounding movements. Now bounding is basically a way for two or more individuals to move from cover to cover while they're returning fire to the enemy basically, and constantly making sure that the direction that they're moving towards is covered. And basically, again, you only need two people to do it. More is better, but you really only need two. So the way that works is, let's say I'm from this cover here and there's enemies downrange that kind of got us pinned down some. So I'm going to return fire, and I will be firing back at those enemies at the end there. Now while I'm doing that, I'm going to have a buddy that's going to be down behind this cover on this side. And I might switch to third person in a second here. I'm able to do that because I'm able to run cheats on the local server here. But basically, he's going to return fire, and while I'm down here, I'm going to pop up and I'm going to step out and get behind cover here, and I just slid, which is something you can do in the game, and now I'm going to pop up and start returning fire. Now when me sitting at that side hears him shooting now, because you can't always see them visually, so when I hear this person now returning fire, that's going to cue me to move up from that position, and this person's going to then go from here. Now remember, I'm going to have a guy right there returning fire, so now I can get up, sprint up to my next location, and either get down right here, or I might go all the way up to my next position and start returning fire. Now as far as how far you go, you really don't want to make the distance too far, but you do want to get behind good cover each time. So the idea is that this person on the right, let me go ahead and go to third person. So player on the right is going to be covering player on the left while he moves up to the next position over here. Player on the left will cover player on the right while they move up, and together they're going to move up one by one as they get to the end of the runway here, or whichever position they're moving to. You can do it with multiple people, or I guess you have to do it with multiple people, at least two, because you need someone to be returning fire, because the idea is that while sprinting, you're not going to be able to acquire targets. I can click and he's just not going to fire right now while I sprint. The time it takes to get the weapon up, get on sights and everything while sprinting, it's just way too long. You'll die in that time. So the distance that you want to cover is about 3 seconds worth of sprinting. What we used to do when I was in the military was, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down. Or I'm up, I'm moving, I'm down. And then what you want to shout out over radio comms or verbally, whether it's through TeamSpeak or the in-game chat, is you would want to say, cover me while I move, and that kind of like initiates, hey, we're going to bound, or you could say anything like, I want to bound, or cover me while I move. The other person knows what they need to do, and you say moving. Other customer or other character, I said customer for some reason, the other character will then say, got you covered, and that signals me, okay, he's got me covered, I'm going to get up and sprint, and I know that my teammate's going to cover me. And then I'll say in position and start firing, which signals the other person. And if he can't hear me for some reason, then again, you can't always see it visually, you can't always hear it, so he'll hear me firing. Then he's going to say moving, and he's going to get up and move over here. Now I am covering this area. I'm not going to look to my left to make sure that he's covered and he's in position and ready to fire, because what does that do is it exposes our whole right side as we go back to third person here. It exposes that whole right side to where if I look to see if he's there, I'm going to be taking fire and everything. So what needs to happen instead is I need to just remain downrange. He'll say in position. I'll say, okay, moving. Boom, and I'm going to take off. And then slide down, or crouch, or whatever you want to do, and I'll start returning fire. I'm going to yell in position. Now of course we only have 30 round mags, depending on how much you're firing and stuff like that. You might need to reload, so what you would say at that point is at one of the stopping points is every time you need to reload, you want to shout out loading or reloading. And basically it's the other person, because you don't want the other person to say moving and then you fire 2 shots and you're out of ammo, and you know, they're screwed when they're not getting any cover or anything like that. But that's how that works though, guys. That's a basic movement drill to bound. If you have more than 2 people, we'll show you kind of going the other way. So the way I would do that is it basically just means you get more sectors to cover. So we don't always have a hallway. Now if you kind of picture these telephone poles as being walls that just go straight along the side here all the way to this cover, and this is just a hallway that this dirt path is on. There's not too many angles to worry about really. But you know, you don't always have that perfect scenario. So what I would do is I would have the number 1 man here, aim down here. The number 2 man would be on his left, also aim down, and he's going to be covering down here. And then I would have the number 3 man with the number 1, and he'd be facing our 6, covering maybe out this way, kind of covering this 45 degree to 90 degree angle at a corner like this, depending on the layout, of course. And then the number 4 man, if we did 4 people, would be covering this way. If we only had 3, then, you know, one person would just pick one side and cover this whole 180 in the 6, but you always want someone looking at the rear too if you can. And then, you know, same thing. So moving, first person moves up, he's in position, number 1 man's going to move up, he gets in position, number 3 man will then turn around. So number 1 can face forward, number 2 can turn around and cover the 6 while number 3 runs up, then number 4 can run up, and number 2 will turn back, you know, so it's kind of a switching up type game, and you guys can kind of figure out the tactics as you play with people that you're more familiar with on how exactly you want to do that. But bounding is a great way, again, to move up from cover to cover while making sure that there's always someone looking downrange in the directions you need. It's great when you have more than 1 person or more than 2 people, but if you only have 2, it's a really good way to move and still cover yourself. The key is the biggest thing that I can say, if with any tactical realism game or real life world, if for some reason you found the video because you're looking real world on how to do movements, is you need to trust your buddy. In the Army we call them battle buddies, and you got to trust the person to your left and your right. So if I'm here, like I said, if he says he's in position, I know that he is here, set up next to me, and he's ready to fire downrange at any targets that are down there. And if I receive contact while sprinting, I'm not going to stop, drop to the ground, and try to shoot. I am going to run to my cover and get into the position that I need to get into, because I know my buddy's back there firing downrange for me. And that's kind of the key. So of course, you know, in this game, if your buddy gets shot or something like that, then you know, there's only so much you can do. I mean, if he's behind cover and you thought he had you covered and he really didn't because he died, then there's only so much you can do. But you know, that's kind of the idea though, is that you shouldn't have to constantly check over your shoulder to make sure your buddy's covering the right direction. You want them to already be there and you know what you're doing, and calling out those movements and having names for them is what really helps with that. So without too much further ado then, I don't want to make the video too long. I think we'll wrap it up. In the future, we're going to go over room clearing and a few different exercises. I'll probably build my own little setup since this doesn't have everything that I need, but it works out pretty well. This could be a room, if we think of this as being a tall wall like those ones over there, this could be a really wide opening, and show you how to do some different room clearing techniques and stuff like that too. We'll maybe make some twists and turns and hallways, and then we'll you know, clear out this big room here and maybe divide this up a little bit. Definitely some different stuff that we can do with everything. I'm also probably going to get some other people into the game, so I have Casual Spankin', I have Fraptastic Gaming, Sergeant Cookie, a few other people that I play with on Insurgency pretty often, and they know a lot of these tactics already, so it's great to kind of go over things with them and be able to chat with them on everything. So hope you guys enjoyed the video though. Hope you learned something. So again, just to recap, bounding movements, what I would say is, again, 2 people facing downrange. You're taking fire from here, but you need to move up because you don't want to just sit back here the whole time. So, you know, say to your partner, let's bound, or bounding movement, or cover me while I move. Wait for him to signal, got you covered, or I'm watching, or I'm covering you, or anything like that. Say, moving, sprint, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down, in position. Other person's going to signal moving. That person runs up to here. I got the downrange covered the whole time. In position, moving, sprint, down, pop up, and shoot. That's it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching my video today, guys. Make sure you look for more Insurgency Tactics 101. They're going to be coming out every Monday. Also check out my indie game preview on Insurgency from last week. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.